we have 2 live matchups to score for you, but first, Banner, throwing it to you, take it away with our fan vote.
Guys, as always, thank you so much for all of your comments and participation in this tournament. Without you guys, none of this is possible. Again, don't forget on our Facebook page, our Twitter, you guys can always go to broforcesquad.com to keep up with the tournament and continue to stay active with that. Today, our fan vote is ding, ding, ding. It didn't. There we go. Sin City versus X-Men.
Woo!
Geiger, you keep winking at me. I have no control over this one.
Buy him dinner first.
Right?
There's a bloodbath that's about to ensue. There's no time for romance.
All right, guys. First one is Anthony Lee Miller, and he says, as much as I like Sin City, X-Men had a much bigger impact on pop culture. I think the artistic quality of Sin City is so much higher than X-Men. Kind of all over the place, but had some really good points. I think the vote actually ended up going to X-Men for this one. Guys, what are our thoughts on that?
Well, that's what Sin City is and what makes it so unique. It's like a filmmaker's comic book movie, almost. Like the way that it's done visually, the way that the framing device is told. X-Men like broke ground just because it was like one of the first superhero movies that really did like an ensemble, but Sin City is so unique. Like it's hard to not give that one a pop culture point.
2 things. Anthony, thank you for actually looking at some of our grading criteria, which we'll go over a little later. But effects on pulp culture, I'm totally with him. But going off Jeff's point, Michael Valentine, who we're hoping about having on the pod again next week, who did Comics Beyond the Comic Book Pages, said on this very pod that Sin City was his favorite adaptation from comic to film ever. And I tend to agree with him. It was very good. But if I was to judge this, I'd probably give it to X-Men too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that
Also,
Sin City...
not X2, also.
Well, I mean, you'd give it to X2 as well, right?
Wow.
I already fucking did that. So, yeah,
The
sure.
body's still warm. Jesus.
Again, Sin City is a cinematic graphic novel. I mean, it is... We always talk about kind of page to screen. This is something that visually, if you were imagining these comic book pages coming to life and moving... It is what Sin City is. So, great point there, Anthony. Next one, Aaron Stites. He says, Sin City is 10 times the movie. X-Men movies are terrible. I mean, that's kind of a bold statement. I will say that the continuity of the X-Men movies are all over the place. If you look at them as a whole, if you look at each individual X-Men movie by itself as an individual movie, really, other than Origins, they're all still pretty good movies. But we're not talking about the whole thing. We're only talking about the first X-Men, which I thought was one of the stronger ones of the franchise. Geiger, I know you have some pretty good thoughts and pretty strong feelings about this.
Yeah, it's hard to just judge one film when they made 8 and they all connect, or in Fox's case,
Yeah, they connect.
Or
Fox is
try to
like, they do?
But
Hallelujah!
I can see his point. Coming from me, that was a big fan of the X-Men comics and the 90s cartoon show. I was very disappointed in every single X-Men film I've ever seen. But the first one, I think, had the best ending, in my opinion.
Horns, you got anything?
Yeah, all I'll say is that Aaron's comments, and thanks again, Aaron, I know you're a friend of the pod, you've commented before. This is what I expected from the Sin City fans. There may not be as many of them as some of these bigger tentpole franchises, but the ones out there are loud, and I love that about them.
Yeah, and I think our next comment kind of echoes what Aaron says here. In Mattis Gordillo.
Yep.
Yeah, was that you guys say that? If I messed that up, sir, I apologize. But what he says is the Sin City movies are better than any X-Men movies that I can think of.
Dame to Kill For is probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Now, I would probably rather watch Origins than A Dame to Kill For. But
wow.
That is a bold statement.
I actually would.
You can't take
but,
some of this back.
I can understand. It's hard to say that. I mean, Sin City has 2, and X-Men has what? Maybe 10, maybe more. I don't know. So that's kind of it's kind of lopsided. But once again, I agree with Jeff, man. The Sin City cult following. I'm part of this. I think it's one of the greatest comic book movies ever. It's different. It's original. No one has ever really done anything quite like it. So it was a very good matchup, but I can still see why X-Men, most people gave it to X-Men. I'd give it to X-Men myself.
Somebody that definitely gave it to X-Men is Matthew Siller, and he said Sin City was garbage.
Wow, I don't know about that.
Well, Sin City is like the dude who like just walks up to a chick at the bar and says, "Wanna fuck?" It's really risky, and if it works, then yeah, she's going home with you. If it doesn't, then you're going to jail.
Now, I think I commented back at him and made sure he knew which Sin City we were talking about. Because,
That's true.
I don't know this guy. He might have only seen Dame to Kill for some weird reason, but it is the original Sin City.
Yeah, I think some other people also, and this may have been on one of the other comments, sent back blasphemy after that. Was that on this one, guys? Do you guys remember?
Yes.
Sin City is basically like a religion. If you make fun of it, it's like, well, I worship that, so go die. Yeah,
which again, it has a huge cult following. In my opinion, I think is part of the reason why it got a second one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it would have if there wasn't that kind of cult following. Kind of the same with the Blade series.
If you would have asked me probably 6 months ago before we were the Broforce Squad, I actually would have given this to Sin City, but Banner made me rewatch all the 3 original X-Men's, and a lot of people were probably in my same boat. It really hasn't been on FX for a while, the very first X-Men. It hasn't been on any cable channel. If you don't own it, go pop it in, man. Seriously, it is a good watch, and whenever I rewatch these again, it's back in 2000. I haven't watched this for a while, but it is a very, very good movie, and after watching both probably back-to-back, I'd give it to X-Men.
As would most of our fans. Guys, again, thank you for voting. Go to broforcesquad.com. We have all of our social media linked out there. And 52 to 29, X-Men takes it. It is moving on to the Sweet 16 along with many other movies. Geiger, I'm going to throw it back to you for our highlights, and we can get this live scoring started because I'm excited about today's matchups.
We got 3 other movies trying to move on to the Sweet 16, too. 3 matchups. First to an early highlight, and of course we're grading these things on 5 criteria: cast, story, best scene, impacts on pop culture, and rewatchability. Earlier today, Avengers Age of Ultron took on Tim Burton's original Batman. Kind of close, but Batman, starring Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson, moving on to the Sweet 16. Avengers Age of Ultron out, but the original Avengers still in. So, now, for everyone's favorite, and our favorite too, the live movies of the day. Movies ready.
Let's fight each other.
I think we can calmly discuss this.
Steel, is that what you
Man
said?
of Steel versus Deadpool.
Okay.
Cast. You want me to start?
Yes.
Go for it.
Man of Steel. Are you kidding me? Costner, Crow, Lane, Adams, Fishburne. Cavill, I don't care what you think about him. He's my favorite Superman. So I gave it to Man of Steel. 1-0. Jeff?
Yep. It was hard to do. Look, the Deadpool cast was great. Everyone crushed their role, especially TJ Miller and Ryan Reynolds. But this is a juggernaut in Man of Steel's cast. And the person that a lot of people forget is Michael Shannon, who in my opinion gave the best performance in this movie. Deadpool definitely wins the acting portion of this, but the cast is just too strong for Man of Steel. So Man of Steel. Banner.
Guys, I can't disagree. Man of Steel.
All right.
What?
Man of Steel takes it. We all know my feelings about the movie overall, but you cannot ignore that cast. And Jeff, you hit the nail on the head. Shannon just destroyed his role. It was
the 5 criteria, Deadpool, we've seen it lack on this, even in the first couple of rounds.
And that's Fox's fault for not giving it the budget it needed. But whatever, I digress.
Story. I'm going with Deadpool. But for a reason that a lot of other people don't really talk about, yeah, it's funny, it's a great story. I will give you something. Whenever he develops cancer and it shows how it affects him and his girlfriend, going through, I know everyone on this pod, everyone probably listening knows somebody that's been affected with cancer. I've lost both my grandparents to cancer. Deadpool, a very funny movie, but that is a heart-wrenching thing. Every time I see that scene, I almost start crying. So I gave it to Deadpool.
I really can't add anything to that. I completely agree. Man of Steel was a good retelling of the Superman origin story, but I think the reason Deadpool worked with such a small budget was because it had a really good story that worked on a lot of levels. So Deadpool.
And I think I echo all of those statements right there. But what also makes it work is that it's pretty simple. Guy loves a girl. Guy doesn't want to put this girl through, this terrible thing that he has to go through. And then he ends up going back and saving her because at the end, love cures all.
3-3. Just look that up on Wikipedia, and that means it's tied.
I don't
So,
know.
but no, who's winning?
It's a match
Moving
fighting.
on to best scene, I gave it to Man of Steel. And this was in the trailer, and even in the movie, it was fucking perfect. But when Zod takes over every fucking radio station on Earth and says, "You are not alone. I've traveled across an ocean full of stars." I remember seeing that trailer. I remember seeing it. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. Man of Steel, think of it what you will. I actually really liked it. But that scene, and Clark's just in a fucking house in Kansas and being like, he's talking to me right now, and so does his mom now. And I gave it to Man of Steel, man. I love that fucking scene. Jeff?
That was a great scene. I give it to Man of Steel too, and I think this is really interesting because it was not some big action spectacle. It wasn't when something blew up. It wasn't like a great special effects shot. It's the scene when Jonathan Kent, played perfectly by Kevin Costner, is talking to like a 12-year-old Clark Kent, and he lets the bully beat him up, and he basically gives him the speech of like, "Did you want to punch that kid back? Yeah, I know you did, and part of me wanted you to also." And he is explaining to Clark that he has a greater responsibility to the human race because of his gifts. That scene was just so perfectly acted. That's my favorite scene in the movie. I had to go Man of Steel. But I love so many scenes in Deadpool. I feel like Judas even saying this.
I do too, because I love Deadpool. I've been actually a Deadpool advocate. As much as I shit on Fox, I love Deadpool. Banner?
Well, I will love Deadpool more than both of you because I'm going to pick Deadpool for this category.
Someone has to.
Yeah.
It has to be the 12 bullet scene, right?
Oh,
On
so
the highway.
great.
Like,
So you're going to
hey,
have to
I have
share.
12 bullets. Parts of it were visually amazing. The choreography was out of this world. Parts of it made me laugh. Parts of it made me cry. There was action and shit.
It was
And
hilarious.
it was awesome.
5-4. Man of Steel might pull the upset here. Effects on pulp culture.
Geiger's winking at me again.
I went back and forth with this. As the DC fan on the pod, I've wanted to see two things in my entire life. And one is that DC gets an extended universe like Marvel, and this gave it to me. I'm giving it to Deadpool
God.
because the other thing I fucking wanted to see is a ballsy movie that would go fucking rated R. And this gave it to me on Valentine's Day weekend, and it's one of my favorite comic book movies ever. So I gave it to Deadpool. 5-5. Jeff?
I echo everything you said. I had to give this point to Deadpool, although Man of Steel started the DCEU, so that made this really close. But the only thing that I would add to what Geiger said, which pretty much hits the nail on the head, is that this was a movie that shows the studios meddle so much with these movies. This was a middle finger to the studios. Because Ryan Reynolds and Tim Miller did this their way with less of a budget, and Geiger's been over how much they harassed Fox to get this made. This was a big fuck you. You don't know everything about making a movie. Sometimes let the little guys do it, and it works out better. So I went Deadpool for pop culture. Banner.
Yeah, guys, they proved that you can make a raunchy superhero movie. With that being said, I cannot believe you guys are not picking Man of Steel. It started the DCEU. Regardless of what the DCEU has become, it started this bigger thing. Man of Steel.
You picked Man of Steel? Okay, sorry. I gotta read that. I already put that down before. So 5, 6.
You're disgusting.
6-6.
This isn't
Okay.
North Korea. We get to actually vote.
6-6. Banner, I'm gonna throw it to you. You're a Fox guy. Rewatchability. What do you got?
100% Deadpool. It's funny. Again, it's an easy movie to follow. Man of Steel it's a harder movie to follow. In the first 30, 35 minutes, there's not a lot of dialogue. You're just kind of following them around, and it can be very rough to rewatch. With that being said, I watched it in the past 6 months. I probably watched it 3 or 4 times. Deadpool's something that I can watch every day.
Jeff?
I'm going to go Deadpool for all the reasons you said, but the funny thing is every time I see Man of Steel, it literally gets better. If I watched it 10 times in 10 days, it would probably win this fucking tournament for me, but I have to go Deadpool. It's just everything.
I feel like that's how all the DCU movies are.
Yeah.
The more you watch it, the better it gets.
Geiger.
I'm gonna go Deadpool too. I'm gonna echo off Jeff though. I love Man of Steel. It's just not a movie that I don't think has a chance at the Final Four or anything. Deadpool has a legitimate chance of, I think, winning this whole fucking tournament. But I'm gonna go for it for another reason. I think in 20 years from now, the whole scale of this DCEU with like the mix-up they did with Suicide Squad and some of the jumbled-up messes of movies they've made, I think Man of Steel is just going to get lost in the shuffle, even though it's a very good movie. Deadpool is a cult classic that is going to be like, watch 10, 20, even 30 years from fucking now. It is a very unique, original comic book movie, and they did it perfect to the comic book. So, Deadpool 9-6 over Man of Steel. Moving on to the Sweet 16. Going on to the last matchup of the day. Movie's ready.
Attack each other. Is that bell broken? Fuck.
No, I just had it on the sheet. Sorry. Blade, the first Blade, versus Guardians of the Galaxy, another favorite on maybe just winning this whole goddamn thing. So, cast. We'll go in reverse. Banner, cast.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Nobody other than really Pratt, but even at the time, Pratt wasn't awesome. This is kind of what put him into that upper echelon. You have a lot of about to be on the brink, up in the upper echelon actors, all working fantastically together. Other than Wesley Snipes, I could live with pretty much everybody else in Blade.
Jeff?
I'll be quick. Guardians. Wesley Snipes was at his prime at the time Blade happened, but an actor of the caliber of Benicio del Toro or Josh Brolin, who are only in like 2 scenes of this movie alone, could shit out a better cast than Blade. So, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, it's not hard to give this to Guardians of the Galaxy. That's what I gave it to. So 3-0. But Blade was just kind of against the 8-ball because back in the day, I mean, these A-level actors wouldn't want to have a 5-minute scene in a Blade
100%.
movie. But
100%.
you know, that's just kind of the way it goes. So 3-0. Guardians of the Galaxy going on to story. Banner.
Story, I gave it to Guardians. It's a good story. I like how they brought the team together. They did a good job of explaining why they all came together, regardless of whether it's how close it is to source material or not. They did a good job, and at the end, you really felt like, hey, this is a good family.
Jeff?
Same thing. Guardians is a great story of how all these misfits come together. My issue with Blade is, so the story starts, he's already a daywalker and a vampire hunter. Why didn't they just make the first one an origin story? I mean, that would have given it a huge advantage. But the first third of this movie, it's just implicit that he's been vampire hunting. I'm like, that would have been kind of fucking cool to see. So that's my issue with Blade. I actually rewatched Blade 2 weeks ago, and it still holds up pretty well. But it starts, and we'll get to the opening scene in a little bit, at least I will. But why wasn't it an origin story? That would have given it a shot to win. So Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, to just kind of touch off your point, the reason they didn't do that is because the original Batman came out, which wasn't an origin story, and basically it's just a copycat movie thing. And origin stories weren't really cool until like 2003. But I gave it to Guardians of the Galaxy too. This is just why Marvel is so perfect. This is my favorite Marvel movie, actually, is it tells a great story, but then it still ties into the Infinity Stone and Thanos and everything, but it doesn't take you out of it. It doesn't try to do that. It basically just ties into this great story that James Gunn just put on screen and did it perfectively. All right. Best scene. Banner.
Best scene, I gave it to Blade. Jeff, you forced me to watch this earlier today.
Yeah,
that opening scene of Blade is
awesome.
Redonkulous. It is so sick when he just shows up. Like, all the blood is coming down out of the sprinklers, and then he shows up and does his thing. It's awesome. I'll let you take this because, Jeff, this is because of you.
No, so the opening scene to Blade gets the point for me. Guardians had some great scenes, don't get me wrong. But this scene, especially when it came out in the late 90s, was iconic. A guy shows up to a nightclub. We don't know what we're getting into. We don't know who Blade is, what's going on. And they throw you not only into this universe of vampires and this dark, gritty underworld, but then Wesley Snipes shows up and kills everyone else in the movie. It was fucking awesome. That's how you start a movie. Go 0 to 100 real quick. Point for Blade.
I gave it to Blade too, and it was hard because I took in consideration the scene that Jeff had us watch, but then I also took into consideration of regurgitating my own thoughts. Is basically like a movie is only as good as how it started, and
that's how you start a movie.
Yeah, but Come and Get Your Love with Chris Pratt was pretty fucking cool too. But
so
I still gave it to Blade. 6-3, Guardians of the Galaxy. Moving on to effects on pop culture. Brian.
I gave this to Guardians. Marvel took a risk, and they showed that, hey, you can take lesser characters, not as known, in this kind of crazy, more cosmic world, and make them popular and make a extremely, extremely successful movie. So I gave it to Guardians.
I went Blade. I'm not sure if this is the first R-rated comic book movie, but it was definitely the darkest at the time. Not even remotely tried to be geared towards kids. I respected that. I think it definitely set at least a bit of a standard for what you could do with some of the source material and how far you could push it. So I had to go with Blade. Although Guardians, I think, was great as far as Marvel going cosmic, but to me, the effect that Blade had with how dark and gritty it was pretty outstanding. So Blade gets my point.
I went Blade too. Blade also. Sorry, I did that again. I went Blade simply because it put Marvel on the map. I think this was Marvel's first movie success. I don't know if it was their first movie ever. I don't know if you count the Incredible Hulks and stuff like that. But the original Batman was on there, then The Crow came, and then this was the first Marvel movie that people remember. And they were good. The first one was good. The second one was good. The third one wasn't so good, but that happens to a lot of movies. So I gave it to Blade. 7 to 5 is a galaxy.
You'll have some freaks out there that say Howard the Duck was the first Marvel movie, but, just be prepared for that.
I think it's the first Marvel movie, but I guarantee you it's the first successful Marvel movie.
Fair enough.
Give me that. Rewatchability. Do we need to talk about this?
No.
Guardians.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's 10 to 5. Guardians is moving on. Guardians, I can rewatch that fucking every day for the next month, if you ask me
Blade gave him a game, though, man.
Blade did. It came back, and, the first Blade I love. I'm a big fan of, 80s, 90s movies. I don't like Blade as much as The Crow or the original Batman, but it is a good watch. Once again, if you haven't seen that movie, go get it. It won't let you down. So winners, moving on to the Sweet 16. The original X-Men, the original Batman, Deadpool, and Guardians of the Galaxy. To check out everything, go to our website, bro4squad.com. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube and iTunes. We have a Twitter at bro4squad, and give us a like on Facebook. Until then, check us later. We still got some round 2 matchups, and see who's in the Sweet 16 on the next episode.